Hey everybody, I'm Carla.
Hey Carla.
So, I'm excited to be here tonight, and I am going to read a little excerpt from this book. It is Birth, School, Metallica, Death. And I happen to, throughout the book, a nice little amusing excerpt about the Sunset Strip. There is a story told about the Los Angeles rock scene circa 1982, which has long since passed into Metallica lore. According to legend, Lars Ulrich found himself at the famous Troubadour nightclub on Melrose Avenue one summer evening when Metallica's candy floss-haired nemesis Motley Crue strode into the bar with their entourage. The story has it that the Crue party were intoxicated, obnoxious, and in high spirits, having freshly inked a lucrative major label deal with Elektra Records. Ulrich, meanwhile, was said to have been drinking alone to numb his growing frustration over his band's failure to detonate a bomb under the strip. The sight of Crue bandleader, songwriter, and bassist Nikki Sixx and his coterie holding court in the club that night then served only to inflame the drummer's sense of injustice. Drawing himself to his full height, the 5'8" Dane allegedly approached Motley Crue's table and informed the group's towering bassist that his band sucked. At which point, to howls of laughter, Sixx grabbed the impertinent critic by his lapels and threw him halfway across the room. It is an amusing anecdote, one which feeds nicely into the received wisdom that is, at this time, Metallica were fearless lone wolves who prowled the hair metal jungle in search of a kill. In truth, however, the incident never happened. The reality of the story is rather more prosaic. As James Hetfield remembers it, Metallica did indeed cross paths with Crue one night at the Troubadour, but their encounter was made on uneven terms. We were outside a club, sitting on a parked car, pissed off and drunk, Hetfield recalled. We didn't even have enough money to get into the show, so we were sitting outside trying to weasel our way in somehow, meet someone. Then those guys, Motley Crue, came walking out with high heels and grandma's jewelry on. They walked by and we yelled, "You guys suck!" They turned around like tough guys and just stood there. They look like fucking giants because they've got their Elton John heels on. Meanwhile, we're standing there in our fucking tennis shoes going, huh? They flicked a cigarette on us and walked away. At this time, Motley Crue were a band of unhinged delinquents, as unlikely to back down from a fight as they were to decline a line of cocaine deposited in the cleavage of a stripper. That they chose not to crack Metallica's skulls against the Melrose Avenue sidewalk that evening said everything about the two acts' respective fortunes in the summer of 1982. The Crue, to borrow a title from their first 7-inch single, were the toast of the town. LA natives whose self-financed, independently released 1981 debut album, Too Fast for Love, had already sold more than 20,000 copies on their own Leather Records imprint. Metallica, by contrast, were a glorified covers band with a singer who could barely look an audience in the eyes, a drummer who could not keep time, a self-obsessed, damaged guitarist, and a bassist who didn't even want to be in the group. As Ulrich has often insisted, Metallica may well have defined themselves as the anti-Motley Crue, but in the haziest days of 1982, the chasm between the two parties was so vast that the more established group were barely aware of their snotty brethren's existence. To Motley Crue, Metallica were invisible men, a life form unworthy of even the most common of Sunset Strip courtesies, contempt. In truth, one could easily view this casual humiliation as representative of Metallica's status across the Hollywood rock scene as a whole. For while James Hetfield would once describe Los Angeles as being a place that didn't show his group a lot of love, neither did the city show them any measure of discernible hatred. Instead, the group were met with the most galling of receptions, one of indifference. In those days, no one was even paying attention, Hetfield admitted. We were playing, and people would just have this lost look on their faces, he said. We'd go, man, What the fuck is the matter with you? Give me the finger, spit on me, yell, smile, do something. That made us angry. So that's that little excerpt, and then there's another little excerpt that I thought was interesting, talking about the comparison of the LA scene and the San Francisco scene. The little rivalry. The thing about Metallica is that they were our band, says Doug Goodman, an original observer of the Bay Area metal scene. Goodman would in time come work as tour manager for such groups as Green Day and Smashing Pumpkins. His first job in this field was touring with Slayer in frontman Tom Araya's Camaro car. It didn't matter that they came over from Los Angeles. As soon as they played here, even before they'd moved up to San Francisco, they were immediately our band. The people in the scene identified with them in the strongest way right from the start. Of course, in time, they'd come to represent the whole area, but even before that, it was obvious that there was a real connection between what they represented and what we wanted to hear. Considering that Los Angeles and San Francisco are cities that reside in the same state and are in a geographic sense relatively close neighbors, the differences between the two are marked. Despite its easygoing, languorous exterior, Los Angeles is a city of high achievement, a place that attracts people from all over the country hoping to make it. As such, competition is fierce, while camaraderie is often merely a facade that goes no deeper than the sweat on each hustler's skin. Tales abound from the Hollywood metal and hair metal scene of the 80s that would see band members roaming Sunset Boulevard and taping to lampposts and walls, flyers advertising their group's upcoming shows over their announcing appearances by competitors. By comparison, for bands such as Metallica, San Francisco was day to Los Angeles neon-polluted night. As Janis Joplin once observed, the first thing that defines the music scene in San Francisco is the freedom. For some reason, people gravitate here and feel free to make any kind of music they feel like making. Artists seeking a location that allows them to make any kind of music they feel like making stands in marked contrast to people relocating to a city in order to play the kind of music they feel will enable them to make it. Metallica, though, made music that while Feral was also finessed, and the band themselves were more than animals out on the loose and looking for trouble. In today's parlance, people who claim to have a vision are implying that they themselves are visionaries. But in the case of Lars Ulrich, this could already be said to be true. Metallica may have worn their integrity like a patch on the sleeve of a denim jacket, but even in the group's earliest days, Ulrich appeared not only to have had his eyes fixed on a larger prize, but also to be possessed of the wit to appreciate the incremental steps required in order that he and his bandmates might realize this achievement. Relocating to San Francisco may not have been the drummer's idea, but he was quick to realize the potential gain of such a move. The group's arrival on the streets of the Bay Area, though, was less of a tale of two cities and more the story of one implacable musician. That Cliff Burton was able to spirit virtual strangers away from the city in which they lived serves to signify the power of an enigmatic presence that seemed to be comprised of little more than human flair and flared denim. There we go.